Welcome back to the Free State for round 6 of the 2024 South African Rally Raid Championship, where all the action is brought to you by Toyota, Team Hilux Rally Raid, Ford, Castrol and ICAN. This weekend saw the SARC move to the town of Welkom, where the competing crews had to battle through heat, dust and plenty of varied terrain. Welcome, as it were, to Welkom. The 2024 SARC has had its fair share of varied locations. The season started in Malalan in the Lowveld before moving to the KZN town of Vryheid for round 2. Next up was the spectacular TGRSA Safari 1000 in the Waterberg, before the championship shifted to the Free State for a double header in the area surrounding the town of Parys. Now it was time for the 2024 South African Rally Raid Championship's penultimate round, and the stakes were higher than ever at the technical course that promised thrills and challenges over the 2-day event. Known for its dusty, windy conditions and variable terrain, the Phakisa 400 would prove crucial for teams looking to solidify their standings or make a late surge in the championship race. Speaking of the championship, let's take a quick look at how things stacked up in the overall standings after rounds 4 and 5. TGRSA's Henk Ladekan had a comfortable margin at the head of the field, despite a DNF in the opening round. He had teammate Guy Bottrell 24 points behind him, while Janelle de Villiers, in the third of the 4 TGRSA Toyota Hiluxes, held on to third place. Lance Woolridge was in fourth, flying the flag as the lone NWM Ford Ranger in the top 5, while Phakisa made it 4 Hiluxes in the top 5. With that said, Gareth Woolridge in the second NWM Ford Ranger was tied on points with Blickno, so the dice for a top 5 spot was clearly on. Further back, Sahud Variawa in the final TGRSA Toyota Hilux found himself in 7th place, while Gerard Heinlein represented the first of the adventure class crews. He may have been in 8th place overall, but for Heinlein the fight was with Eben Basson and Johan de Bruin, all within striking distance of the adventure class championship. We caught up with Heinlein before the race. The quiet farmer may have been leading the title fight, but for him the emphasis was on completing the race, rather than worrying about the title.
Oh well, we're here to enjoy it. Anything on the podium is a bonus.
For the other 2 guys in this 3-way battle, however, it was a different story. Eben Basson had every intention of chasing down the lead, aiming for championship glory.
I know it's tight, but we're going to try to win it. So that's our goal and that's our strategy.
At the same time, Johan de Bruin was hoping to make inroads too, but his strategy was a much simpler one.
It's balls to the wall now. I'm not out yet to make friends.
As for the guys at the top of the table, the championship was heading to its inevitable conclusion, with Henk Ladekan within sniffing distance of the title.
The guys around us are really quick, everybody's really getting up to speed, so we can't make mistakes anymore.
Teammate Guy Bottrell was still in with the sharp though, and the Durbanite was going to keep pushing to the bitter end.
The terrain is quite tricky, really demanding on the car and the driver and the navigator.
For Janelle de Villiers, another Rally Raid title was now out of reach, but the man from Stellenbosch isn't one to stop fighting, and chalking up another 1 or 2 would certainly make him smile.
The last race was so close between all the top cars. If you make a small mistake, you go from on the podium down to 5th, 6th. So
for Lance Woolridge, 2024 held so much hope at the start of the season, but 0 points in round 1 and a DNF in round 4 kept him out of the running. Still, the Ford driver remained in the top 5 and had every reason to be upbeat.
So hopefully we can be right up there again. We're very happy with our pace from last race. Both cars were really, really good.
The final driver in the top 5 after round 5 was Phakisa, the big man in the Team Hilux Ultimate car. Blickno had found a lot of form this year and was just 10 points behind Woolridge going into the penultimate round.
We're still in the running, definitely not for first or second, but yeah, we're there.
The Phakisa 400 DSP was situated at the Phakisa racetrack, smack bang between the Free State towns of Welkom and Oudendaalsrus. This is the land of millies and mines, with vast empty plains and plenty of dust in the air. The DSP, which made use of the Phakisa pit complex, saw the SARC cruise in unfamiliar territory, on concrete and under a roof. But that wouldn't last long, as it was time to go racing in Welkom, starting with a 14-kilometer long qualifying race, sponsored by Castrol. The short, sharp qualifier would be used to determine the starting order for the main race. Since the Phakisa 400 was another super event, the Castrol qualifier would be followed by stage 1 of the race later on the same day, with 2 more stages following on the Saturday. At just 14 kilometers in length, the Castrol qualifying Vulcan was unlikely to have a big impact on the results in terms of overall race time. But in terms of strategy and road position, there was plenty to play for. Ideally, you want to finish in the top 5 or 6 spots during qualifying, or outside the top 10. The last position you want is 10th, as that almost certainly results in opening the route. For the Blickner brothers, however, 10th was exactly where they finished. Ahead of them, Dutch driver Rens Hofstra, with Wade Harris beside him in the Redline Motorsport Revo GTR, managed to go 9th fastest. The dust was a major factor further down the order, and the Dutchman had a tough time out on the qualifier. Daniel Schroeder and Henry Kien had a few tough outings in their brand new Volkswagen Amarok, built and prepared by WCT. However, they were hoping for a better run on round 6, and an 8th place during qualifying was a solid start. The second Redline Revo GTR was in the hands of veteran racer Chris Visser, together with his co-driver Blicky Sventer. They clocked in a time of 8 minutes and 29 seconds, which was good enough for 7th place on the day. For Lance Woolridge and Kenny Gilbert in the NWM Ford Ranger, the Phakisa 400 brought a chance to make a meaningful impact on the championship. They were just 16 points adrift of 3rd place, so a good showing here in the Free State could change things dramatically. They went 6th fastest in qualifying, finishing 21 seconds behind pole position. De Villiers and Fonk completed the qualifying race in 8 minutes and 27 seconds, earning them 5th place. The Tuareg Racing team navigated through challenging conditions and would later use their experience to fight for a podium position. The pair's consistency throughout the season kept them in the mix for valuable points. The young driver Jaden Els, along with Johan Swimmer, had an impressive qualifying run. They finished in 4th place, just 1 second behind 3rd, with a time of 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Despite limited testing in the Century Racing CR7, their natural pace was evident, and they hoped to build on this momentum in stage 1. Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy put in another solid performance, finishing the qualifying race in 3rd place, with a time of 8 minutes and 22 seconds. Their consistency throughout the season has been remarkable, and their qualifying performance put them in a strong position to challenge the leaders. Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer are the defending SARC champions, but have had a tough season to date with mixed results. They were hoping for a strong showing here in Welkom, and got their campaign off to a good start by posting the 2nd fastest time in qualifying. They were just 12 seconds off the winning pace and were upbeat about the remainder of the event. And so, the top spot of the qualifying podium, the name of Henk Lodderkan has been at the top of the standings more often than not, and the Phakisa 400 qualifying race was no exception. Lodderkan, together with co-driver Brett Cummings, put their Toyota Hilux on pole position for stage 1. And there was no doubt that the TGRSA factory driver had winning on his mind. Here's confirmation of the times from the Castrol qualifier. Lodderkan and Cummings blitzed Woolridge and Dreyer by a full 12 seconds, with Bottrell and Murphy going 3rd fastest, 3 seconds further back. Els and Swimmer, driving their standard Century CR7, impressed by going 4th fastest, while De Villiers and Fonk rounded out the top 5, some 20 seconds behind the leaders. The top 10 teams then drew their starting positions for stage 1. The draw led to a strategic shuffle. Lodderkan and Cummings, opting for a tactical approach, chose to start further down the field in 10th position, hoping to make the most of the tracks left by the earlier starters. Conversely, for Shean Batz's Blickno in the #Team Hilux Rally Raid Toyota Hilux, who posted the 10th fastest time, had no choice but to open the road. A daunting task, especially since only a small portion of the route had been used for the Castrol qualifying race. But before we go to the actual race, let's meet some of the men who swing the spanners at the SARC races and find out why they are often described as the true heroes of the sport.
Well, they've got the most important roles in what the driver's got, They do all the work. They have to make sure all the nuts and bolts are tight, and these cars are faultless, ready for them to tackle a 500k stage with no problem, no issues, nothing. Come back and just be spanner checked again. So they are very important at this stage.
Depends on how the day goes. Like some events are quite hectic and we do a lot of work. Cars come back with damage, we've got to get them back into tip-top shape ready for the next day or the next loop. Yeah, we work hard to get the cars back in good shape, and sometimes we're lucky, we don't have to do much, but often we're not so lucky.
I mean, we've done the diff change in 20 minutes in a DSP, which is absolutely crazy. Cars go out and then we're waiting for the victory at the end. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but when it happens, it's oh so sweet.
The driver asks you something, you have to do it straight away, and he can trust you that you've done it to your best, and make sure that he knows that you've done it as well, and that puts him at rest. Then he knows that he can push and go flat out and the car won't break.
So normally, just to keep a chain of command, we'll have the engineer, he will get all the information from the drivers and navigators, and then he'll liaise with the two heads of the cars, just so that everyone's on the same page of what's going on. And then from there, we'll just get the work done, tick it off as we're going through. And while we're doing, we'll just make sure we don't spot anything else that no one else knew about, that we at least catch it before it actually becomes a big problem.
A lot of them are mechanical, so they can give you the right info. If you don't have the right info, they say there's a noise. They've got to tell you where's the noise, front and rear. Maybe the noise is in his head. So, these sort of things we can try. Certain areas you can address quickly. That's why the communication is very important as well.
Those are the guys who probably work the hardest during a race weekend. But in the end, people don't come to the races to see people working hard. They come to see some of the most advanced race cars in the world go inhumanely fast. So let's take a look. The Phakisa 400 featured 3 racing stages in addition to the Castrol qualifier. First of these, stage 1 comprised 143 kilometers and was run on the Friday afternoon after the qualifying race. Let's start with Eben Besson and Leander Pinot in the hashtag Team Hilux car. The pair were under pressure to perform in order to stand the championship fight, but things went wrong shortly after the start of the qualifying race. They clipped a barrier shortly after the start, which already had them on the back foot. Then they suffered a puncture in stage 1, further hampering their progress. This meant that Johan de Bruyn, who posted the 10th fastest time for the day, was in the lead of the T1 Adventure class, and the businessman was upbeat about his chances.
Yeah, it's still a big fight out there, and another race to come, but tomorrow, let's just finish off tomorrow first.
He was the only adventure class driver to crack the top 10 for the opening day of the Phakisa 400, as all the cars ahead of him were the big wheel T1 Ultimate variety. Daniel Schroeder and Henry Kierner ended the day in 9th place despite incurring a 2-minute penalty that affected their overall time. Their total time of 1 hour 51 minutes and 38 seconds kept them in the mix, just 67 seconds behind Hofstra and Harris.
We're getting a penalty for taking out a marker, I guess, and
Rens Hofstra and Wade Harris managed to make up one position from their qualifying result, finishing 8th overall with a total time of 1 hour 50 minutes and 31 seconds. They battled dust and sand but held their ground firmly in the top 10.
The sand was really heavy for the car. It was really pulling on the engine.
The Blickner brothers found the task of opening the road quite challenging. They finished 7th on the day with a combined time of 1 hour 49 minutes and 54 seconds. Navigating the uncharted path first proved to be a difficult endeavour, especially with the thick shifting sand complicating their route.
Yeah, I remember I followed my brother's instruction and I followed the tracks, but today there was no tracks, we're just following the instructions, so it was tough, but we enjoy it.
Chris Viss and Albertus Venter finished stage 1 in 6th place, 1 minute and 45 seconds behind the stage winners. They faced overheating issues that slightly hampered their performance, but managed to keep a solid pace despite the setbacks.
No, I must say, it's sometimes you think there's a car in front of you. That's how the wind is blowing the sand, and it's quite dusty.
Jaden Els and Johan Swemmer put in an impressive performance, especially considering their limited time in the Century Racing CR7. They finished 5th overall on Friday, just 26 seconds behind Woolridge and Dreyer, with a total time of 1 hour 49 minutes and 32 seconds.
Yeah, just trying to keep it on the road. There's a lot of stuff that can happen, and then tomorrow it's still a long race.
As for Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer, they were definitely in contention, ending the day in 4th place with a total time of 1 hour 49 minutes and 6 seconds. They battled through the dusty conditions, pushing their Ford Ranger T1 Ultimate to the limit to stay in touch with the leaders.
A bad navigation error near the end. I think we were already about 50 seconds down on the leader, and we lost about another 20 there.
And so, onto the coveted podium positions, albeit only midway through the race. Janelle de Villiers and Alvin Fonk had to contend with both mechanical issues and a slight navigation error that cost them 25 seconds. But their resilience paid off as they rounded out the top 3 with a total time of 1 hour 49 minutes and 5 seconds. They remained within striking distance, just 29 seconds behind their teammates Bottrell and Murphy.
And in this type of racing, you can't make up a lot of time because it's so fast. You've got to be inch perfect everywhere.
Guy Bottrell and Dennis Murphy also had a strong showing, finishing stage 1 in 2nd place with a combined time of 1 hour 48 minutes and 36 seconds. Despite losing a bit of time navigating through the thick sand, they kept the pressure on Larnacan and Cummings ahead of them throughout the stage. The Durbanite has found a lot of form this year, and his performance in Welkom didn't disappoint.
Yes, we're all pushing as hard as we can go, and when you're pushing hard like this, sometimes that's when mistakes happen.
This means, of course, that it was the names of Larnacan and Cummings who appeared at the top of the charts. Despite starting from 10th place, the pair capitalized on their strategy, setting the fastest stage time of 1 hour 39 minutes and 2 seconds. Their total time of 1 hour 47 minutes and 9 seconds gave them a 1 minute and 27 second lead over their nearest rivals by the end of the day. And they had every reason to be happy with their performance.
It looks like it paid off. It was like a nice run. We pushed a bit for this last run.
Things didn't go quite as smoothly for Lance Woolridge and Kenny Gilbert in the second NWM Ford Ranger. The pair suffered a broken brake disc after an impact mid-stage and had to throw in the towel for the day.
We had an unfortunate, we landed on a rock which cut the tyre and shattered our brake disc all at once.
We also caught up with Ian Bisson after a rough start to the Phakisa 400. First with problems in quali, and then even more problems in stage 1.
We nipped the apex a bit on the inside corner, nipped the tyre, we bent our steering rod to the inside, not to the outside. And it was game over for us for the qualifying.
So by the time the dust had finally settled over the empty reaches of the area around Welkom, it was Larnacan and Cummings who held a comfortable lead of 1 minute 12 seconds over Bottrell and Murphy. De Villiers and Fonk had a good run to go 3rd fastest, just 24 seconds behind Bottrell. Woolridge and Dreyer were the pick of the Ford crews in 4th, with the Blickner brothers running out the top 5. Next up were stages 2 and 3 of the race, 2 laps of a 181km long loop that would see the crews again start and finish at the Phakisa Raceway, but this time covering quite a lot of virgin terrain, not used during the qualifier or stage 1. It was a tough and varied route, but it was also a high-speed stage, and with so much on the line at this stage of the championship, mistakes or problems here could well spell disaster. The Saturday of the Phakisa 400 brought near windless conditions early on, but the area is known to experience strong winds during the day. This wouldn't bother Larnacan and Cummings as they'd be opening the route, which held challenges of its own. For Lance Woolridge, the second day of the event brought new hope after a tough opening day that saw him withdraw from stage 1.
It's been good. It's very, very dusty. We've managed to pass 3 of the T1 cars in this lap, so...
And with that, let's take a look at how the day's action unfolded. The Phakisa and father and son duo battled throughout the weekend to complete the Phakisa 400 in 10th place overall. Their Renault Duster faced engine issues midway through the race, forcing them to manage their pace and nurse the car to the finish. Despite these challenges, they successfully wrapped up the race with a total time of 6 hours, 32 minutes and 59 seconds, finishing 34 minutes and 2 seconds behind the leaders. Bisson and Pinar faced an uphill battle from the start after failing to complete the Castrol qualifying race on Friday due to a mishap. They started stage 1 from the back of the grid, losing valuable time. Despite 2 punctures during stage 1, the pair managed to climb back into the top 10 on Saturday. With a final time of 6 hours, 24 minutes and 40 seconds, they finished 9th overall, 25 minutes and 43 seconds behind the leaders, but are now most likely out of reach of the Adventurer T1 Class Championship title.
We have to fight back, we have to make 8.5 minutes up, and I think we made it some time up.
The Highline duo competing in the Adventurer T1 class enjoyed their first class win of the season in Phakisa. After a trouble-free performance on Saturday's stages 2 and 3, they finished 8th overall with a total time of 6 hours, 20 minutes and 36 seconds. This victory tightens the competition in the class and ensures that the championship battle will go down to the final race of the season, especially with Johan de Bruin losing out due to a blown engine on day 2.
Nice and fast, clean run, never got out of the car.
Jaden Nelson and Johan Swemmer had limited preparation in their borrowed Century Racing CR7, but performed admirably during the Phakisa 400. Despite facing wind, dust and sand challenges, they kept their pace consistent throughout stages 2 and 3. They ultimately finished 7th overall with a time of 6 hours, 11 minutes and 45 seconds, just 12 minutes and 48 seconds behind the winners.
Yeah, looking forward to the second loop. I think it's going to be a tough one, fighting for the final top 5 positions.
The Blickner brothers faced issues with 2 punctures during stages 2 and 3, costing them valuable time. Despite these setbacks, they maintained their pace and crossed the finish line with a total time of 6 hours, 11 minutes and 34 seconds, just 11 seconds ahead of Els and Swemmer. It was a solid effort that secured them 6th place overall, 12 minutes and 37 seconds behind the winners.
Unfortunately, we had 2 flats in the race, 2 different times, so that cost us a bit on the time, but we managed to get back.
Daniel Schroeder and Henry Kiernan had an impressive showing in the WCT VW Amarok, completing stages 2 and 3 without major issues. They lost time due to a 2-minute penalty during stage 1, but pushed hard on Saturday to maintain their top 5 position. They finished with a total time of 6 hours, 9 minutes and 50 seconds, placing them 5th overall, 10 minutes and 53 seconds behind the leaders.
But I really enjoyed the track a lot more than I did yesterday.
Woolridge and Dreyer, the reigning champions and winners of this event last year, had a relatively uneventful but consistent performance in the Ford Ranger T1 Ultimate. They finished just off the podium in 4th place, with a total time of 6 hours, 4 minutes and 50 seconds. 5 minutes and 53 seconds behind Lodekan and Cummings. Their experience and strong pace kept them in contention throughout the weekend, despite losing time due to a navigational mistake on the Friday of the event.
Pushed as hard as I could today and as hard as the car could, and we're still not quite there, so we need to go back and see where we can improve and try and improve on the last one.
De Villiers and Funk battled mechanical issues throughout the Phakisa 400, including overheating and navigation challenges. Despite these setbacks, they remained competitive and secured a podium finish. They completed the race with a total time of 6 hours, 2 minutes and 51 seconds, finishing 3 minutes and 54 seconds behind the winners.
In general, we had a good clean race, and happy to finish on the podium.
Bottrell and Murphy were in contention for the win, but suffered a puncture early in stage 2 on Saturday, which cost them valuable time. They fought back and completed the race with a total time of 6 hours, 1 minute and 3 seconds, just 2 minutes and 6 seconds behind their Toyota Gazoo Racing teammates. Despite the minor setback, their performance was strong enough to secure 2nd place overall.
This was a crazy race. I mean, if you have a look at the times, there were a few minutes separating the top 3, and same yesterday.
Lodekan and Cummings dominated the Phakisa 400 from start to finish. After topping the leaderboard in the Castrol qualifying race and stage 1, they continued their strong form on Saturday, leading stages 2 and 3, despite the challenges of opening the road. They finished with a total time of 5 hours, 58 minutes and 57 seconds, clinching their 4th victory of the season and securing both the overall and ultimate T1 Plus titles. And there you have it, a resounding win for Lodekan and Cummings, who wrapped up not only the Phakisa 400, but also the 2024 SARC title in the process. He was followed home by Bottrell and Murphy, with the third of the three competing TGRSA Hiluxes driven by De Villiers and Vonk in the final podium position. Woolridge and Dreyer brought their NWM Ford Ranger home in 4th place, while Daniel Schroeder and Henry Kierner cracked the top 5 with their relatively new VW Amarok. In the end, the Phakisa 400 turned out to be a spectacular event, with plenty of action around the mines and millie fields of the Free State. But the men of the moment were undoubtedly Henk Ladekan and his co-driver Brett Cummings. The pair wrapped up the championship in style, and we caught up with both of them after the race.
Yeah, it was a really nice race, high concentration. I could feel myself after I got out the car. I was still in race mode. It takes a minute or two to get out of it, but yeah, really nice weekend.
The championship will conclude with the Renault KEC Racing 400 on November 8th and 9th, where the competitors will face the final challenges of the season at Legends Adventure Farm. With some titles still on the line and tight battles across the leaderboard, the season finale promises another thrilling chapter in what has been an unforgettable 2024 SA Rally Raid Championship. All the action from the penultimate round of the 2024 SARC in Valcom was brought to you by Toyota, #Team Hilux Rally Raid, Ford, Castrol and ICAM, in association with the SARC.